And away we go. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at the news, have a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening somewhere else and you would like to join us for the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University, and that is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com. Podcasting out of Atlanta as we get ready to jump off here. Being joined by a single feline in the room. You cannot see her right now. That is Miss Kitty sitting on the floor near me here. Everyone else is scattered throughout the house. So we will see if they saunter in or not. Sometimes they do. I am -2. I am down to 18. Down to 18. Through pause, managed to get 2 of them into the adoption phase yesterday. So it's a start. That's a start. So we're down to 18. Down to 18. I hate doing it, but there's only so many that you can sustain taking care of, honestly. Naturally, I do read through as many of the comments as is plausible for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see. And we'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people who've joined us here thus far. I see Donna Beaver is here reminding people, thumbs up, like, and share. Please do. I need all the help I can get. ScrewTube hates me. Helter is here. Brian is here, as well as John is here for the cats. Yeah, you missed 2 of them. Dragon is here. Chillin' Dave, and Tuck, who also wants people to like, share, and subscribe. Well, there's Miss Kitty down on the floor. She heard me speak, so now she's like, "What do you want?" Her ears perked up when I said her name. They know who they are. They know who they are. As we get ready to dive in here, there's so much going on. You don't even know where to start. Yeah, long gone are the days where sometimes it would take days, weeks, or longer for news to really come out. Now with the internet, everything is instant. You hear so much so quickly. You barely have time to even think about it. Gary Edwards is joining us here today, as we're going to jump to a Daily Express article. And Jane says, cute kittens, I mean cute cats. Well, some are kittens and some are cats, because I got 6 kittens we're juggling right now. 6 kittens we're juggling right now. And they expressed interest in the kittens. I mean, kittens are easy to get rid of. And I was like, okay, I'll send you pictures and we'll go from there, because I should move them on, because I'm sure there will be more. I always get kittens. I always find kittens or an abandoned pregnant mama or something. And just as an example of this, they had found that morning at the pause, before we get into the news story, someone had left a barrel out there, like a trash barrel, in front of their facility when they opened up this morning or yesterday morning, and it had 7 like newborn pit bull puppies in it. Somebody just put a bunch of newborn puppies in a barrel and left it there. I was like, goodness. He's like, you can't even bother to check them in. They're not going to do anything to you. You're not going to jail for bringing in puppies. Although it's too soon. If you're going to do that, you got to bring the mama, because they're not weaned. And Chillin' making jokes, low-cost earbuds for sale, made in Israel. Well, no, they were made in Budapest. The pagers were made in Budapest. And speak of the devil, we're going to jump off here. We're going to go to the Daily Express, and we're going to talk about Hez. And you know what I mean by Hez. And I say Hez to avoid saying the whole word so that the algorithm doesn't kick me in the teeth. Hez leader says war is declared as Israel tried to kill 5,000 in 2 minutes. Okay, yeah, war is declared, and you see this guy, and that is Hassan Nasrallah. Hassan Nasrallah. War is declared. Okay, you guys been at war for like 5,000 years. Please don't tell me war is declared. Seriously? You know what that's for? That's for the Westerners who don't understand all of this, that don't understand that their warfare and their fighting is a generational curse. And it's not going to end until one faction is completely erased. And you know what's going to happen after that? Whoever's left is going to find somebody else to pick on real quick, because that's just how it is in that type of tribal society. And Westerners, for some reason, don't understand that. And those who do understand it pretend like they don't. So here we go. Hez leader Hassan Nasrallah has said deadly attacks involving the demonstration of communications devices, or detonation, excuse me, of communications devices by the militant group amount to a declaration of war, blaming Israel for the blasts, which he described as a terrorist act. Well, he would know. At least 37 people killed and more than 3,000 injured in the two-day attacks across Lebanon. Those numbers are all over the place. I've heard as many as 4,000 wounded, many critical. I don't know how many. And then there's the whole radio thing, 450 plus radios, and however many people were killed in those attacks. And there's more today. And I was wondering this morning, I wonder what's next. It's already happened, but we're going to get to that. Speaking for the first time following the blasts, Nasrallah said Israel crossed all boundaries and red lines by carrying out the sophisticated blasts. This is sheer terrorism. We'll call them Tuesday's massacre and Wednesday's massacre. These are war crimes, or at least declaration of war. Oh my God. And then he goes on to say that God is merciful and prevented more deaths and injuries. I don't think God is moving anything in that part of the world. I don't think so. I don't think that God is involved. God, I think we're a petri dish at this point, and God is just sitting back going, okay, how far are these people going to go? How far are these people going to go? Nature Nerd says, why are the Caterpillar strikes in Illinois so long? 1994, 18 months. If a strike lasts over a year, the union clearly doesn't care about your well-being. Because they don't care. You answered the question. They do not care about your well-being. And it doesn't matter how long it goes on. It doesn't matter. And D'Lo has joined us. No notification. I'm sorry to hear that. You know how it is, though, guys. Fluke Man is here. Justin Case is here as people are popping in. Chillin' Dave says, I think this is brilliant. It was brilliant. Kimberly is here. Glad you all could make it today. And Chillin' Dave said the Three Stooges pronounce the names pretty good. And Jane likes my parody. I never heard the guy speak, but I'm willing to bet that was it. I'm willing to bet that was it. And Dragon caught it. He says, what irony, terrorists complaining about terrorism. Exactly. It's not terrorism if they do it. It's jihad. We are conducting a jihad. It's not terrorism. Anyways, I was wondering, what's it going to be today? Laptops? Are laptops going to blow up? Cell phones? What's next? No, we're going to go all in this time. And this is where did I get this article? Euronews, English edition. Israel launches strikes on the southern Lebanon as cross-border tensions continue. There it is. They went all in this time. Israel launched a fresh wave of strikes on southern Lebanon in an attempt to target and destroy I almost said it, infrastructure, according to Israeli Defense Forces. The attack follows a similar assault by Hez, which launched a new barrage of drone strikes into the northern Israel on Thursday. Israel's strikes began moments before Hez's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, began a televised speech in which he said that the targeted explosions of pagers and walkie-talkies across Lebanon and Syria were a severe blow that crossed a red line. There are no lines out there, okay? There haven't been lines out there forever. Nasrallah said that the group is investigating the two-day attack, which killed more than 30, wounded thousands, was widely believed to be carried out by Israel, even though Israel has not claimed any responsibility at all. The device explosions appeared to be the culmination of a months-long operation by Israel to target as many Hez members as possible all at once. And here is an image of the remains of one of those pagers. Looks like the charger's still attached. Oh, no, that's a walkie-talkie. That's not a pager. I can see that. This must be from day 2, from the walkie-talkie explosions. In case anybody wanted to see that there. There's your evidence. There's your evidence. John's life. Have to start getting some gunsmithing tools. My 870 has a displaced shell latch. It's still running, but it's jury-rigged together right now. Careful jury-rigging a rifle. Make sure it's nice and tight. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with it until you're able to fix it. And Nature Nerd says, shocking how many people are terrorists in Hez. A lot. Most of them. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. And that's something else a lot of people don't get. That is a lifestyle for a lot of people in that region. So basically, airstrikes were conducted this morning in Lebanon, and I don't have it here. I wasn't sure if I could show it. There is a video clip of people watching the minister talking on television, because they mentioned that Hassan Nasrallah was on TV, and while they're watching it, there's explosions and everything starts shaking because the bombing was right nearby. Israel's not wasting any time. Not to be trifled with. Not to be trifled with. And I see that H12 has joined us. Glad you could make it today. Happy to have you with us. But there we are. But don't worry. Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And we're going to go to the Latin Times, and you're going to find out why. All right? Latin Times article. Latin Times. Who are we going to talk about? Who knows what we're going to talk about? Nothing if Restream doesn't open the window. I'm waiting on it. Here we go. It looks like it's coming. Oh, it's AOC. She has a solution. Latin Times. AOC criticizes pager blasts targeting Hez members and seeks full accounting of the attack. Full accounting. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez criticized the explosion of different devices used by Hez members in Lebanon on Tuesday and Wednesday, saying they were detonated by Israel across a slew of public spaces, seriously injuring and killing innocent civilians. If they had pagers and radios that were issued by Hez, nobody was innocent in warfare. Okay? I just wanted to add that. She added in an X post that the attack clearly and unequivocally violates international humanitarian law and undermines U.S. efforts to prevent a wider conflict, requesting a full account of the attack, including an answer from the State Department as to whether any U.S. assistance went into the development or deployment of this technology. Oh, God, get me a tissue. The lawmaker also reposted a message from fellow progressive Senator Bernie Sanders, who announced the filing of joint resolutions of disapproval to stop the sale of U.S. arms to Israel and end our complicity in this disaster. Oh, man. Incredible. this ties in with the video I put up yesterday. If any of you didn't see it, I put up an independent video yesterday talking about why you shouldn't trust celebrity endorsements of any politician, okay? And I mentioned, and I've talked about it many times, celebrity politicians. This is a celebrity politician, as is Bernie Sanders. I wonder what it is that she does. She's supposed to be a representative of boroughs in New York. When is she doing that? When is she representing her constituents in the boroughs that she is a representative for? Or does she spend all of her time whining about international affairs and nitpicking with lawmakers in other states that have nothing to do with her constituents? When does she do her job? I wonder, when does she do her job? How does that work? When are you representing the people who elected you? You must have a lot of free time. You must have a lot of free time. Unreal. So I try to avoid the side conversations. Let me see if I can flip through some of these comments really quickly. Fluke Man says, tried explaining to my friend immigrants from the Middle East and Africa in general is generally a bad idea. They mistreat women, but he brushed it off as propaganda. Think he doesn't ever watch the news. Probably not. Nature Nerd says Israel succeeded where the CIA failed. They were the first ones to make exploding electrics in cigars. And Jane says, Gary, that's still side conversation. But I wonder, when the hell does she ever do her job? Always outraged, always picking fights with other lawmakers, always whining about things going on in other states. Is she ever even in New York? When does she do her job? When does she do her job? I always wondered about that with a lot of these guys, a lot of these celebrity politicians like that. Speaking of which, and this ties in with what I was talking about in that video, because this is a great example of it here. Bloomberg article coming up talking about Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey. Because, you can trust Oprah, right? You can trust Oprah. Bloomberg article, Oprah brings star power to mobilize swing state Harris voters. Thank goodness. Oprah Winfrey used her influence and popularity for decades to send fans into a frenzy, showering them with surprise gifts and turning them onto favored products and causes. Now Democrats hope she can do the same for Kamala Harris. Doesn't she have enough money? She's a billionaire. Does she really need to be involved with this? Or is this another bid to stay relevant because Oprah's popularity is fading away? The billionaire media icon will join the Democratic presidential candidate in a live stream town hall in Michigan on Thursday, an effort to get out the vote as some states begin distributing absentee and early ballots this month and to potentially sway undecided voters with under 50 days until election. The event teams a trailblazing entrepreneur with a candidate seeking to become the first Black woman in U.S. president in what polls show is a tight race against the Republican Donald Trump. It's always a tight race nowadays. I don't believe that at all. I don't think that's true. But everything is like neck and neck anymore, right? Every freaking major election of any kind, gubernatorial, senatorial, they're all like right down the line. They're all like a hair apart. And I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I really don't. The event in Michigan, one of the 3 blue wall states critical to Harris's victory, will be in the Detroit metro area. Detroit completely destroyed over the years. Is there anything left in Detroit or does it look like a wasteland? Where the campaign aims to maximize turnout to drive up statewide totals and counter Trump's support in rural areas. Quote, "It's not preaching to the choir, it's getting the choir to sing," said Amy Allison, founder of the She the People, which works to mobilize women of color. They're turning up the volume on the urgency of the base to expand and deepen the capacity to win. Oh, man. It says on Thursday, roughly 400 Harris supporters are expected to attend the 2-hour event in person, with thousands more expected to watch on platforms including YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. Great. So we get to watch Oprah Winfrey pander to Harris and try to further convince anyone who doesn't already believe it that she's black enough. Black enough. Tuck says she's a loudmouth, shit-stirring grifter. Jane says Winfrey's fading away. She needs the publicity. Yeah, of course. Nature Nerd says just because Oprah's a billionaire doesn't mean she's smart enough to not vote for Kamala Harris. And this is the sort of thing I was talking about in the video yesterday. Again, if no one has seen it. If no one has seen it. Kimberly says not close at all. A full restaurant in Nevada was polled on their presidential pick. Only 3 said Harris. But they want you to believe that it's close. They want you to believe that it's close. And that's everything is like that. Everything nowadays. The gubernatorial, the senatorial, the presidential races. Look at them all. They're all a margin of a hair. They're all like right on top of each other. And I'm supposed to believe that that happens with every big election now? Really? I don't trust that. I don't trust that. That sounds to me like a setup. Tuck says it could be Oprah seeking relevance. I believe it. The audience which lifted her to prominence is aging out. Many have also realized while they loved her, she hated them. Good point. Nature Nerd says Kamala is a communist. America Uncovered showed a clip of Kamala saying she's not scared to steal patents, so she controls it. And Jane says, what does that mean, black enough? You've heard me talk about it before. Her being black is very suspect. Her mother is Indian. Her father is from Jamaica, but he's Afro-Indian. So she's really, by the percentage that is acceptable for someone to be declared a specific nationality or a specific heritage, her percentage isn't high enough for any group to actually consider that she would technically be African American. She's just not. But she always considered herself from a political standpoint. Again, she's been in politics 34 years. She always referred to herself as Indian, and she always angled towards like Indian Pacific Islanders, that kind of stuff. But then all of a sudden, when she became the nominee for vice president, oh, I'm black. Okay, sure. That's why I say black enough. The thing is, it's working. People are buying that. They're buying that. And this is part of the reason why her father and her are at odds right now. He won't speak to her because she's, in his mind, denouncing her true heritage by claiming to be black and associating with black Americans in that regard. Now, here's here's one I didn't expect to agree on. And this also ties in with my video from yesterday. How about Pharrell Williams from the LA Times? Pharrell Williams from the LA Times knocks celebrities who endorse politician. Quote, nobody asked you. That's my video from yesterday almost. This week, Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, marked National Voter Registration Day in the U.S. with a public service announcement declaring that every voice matters in the upcoming presidential election. And that's, think about that. Why the hell is Harry and Meghan talking about the U.S. presidential race? Go your ass to the U.K. and talk about it over there. What are you telling us what to do? Like we give a damn about you. Pharrell Williams might be happier if they just keep their mouths shut. In an interview published the day after the September 10th debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump, the multi-hyphenate musician told The Hollywood Reporter he was often annoyed by celebrity political endorsements. Quote, "There are celebrities that I respect that have an opinion, but not all of them," he said. "I'm one of them people who says, what the heck, shut up. Nobody asked you." Williams' comments coincided with a week bookended by a pair of noteworthy Tuesdays, the former the first presidential debate and the latter National Voter Registration Day. During that time, big music industry names, including Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish, voiced their support for the Democrats. Harris waltz ticket and urged their fans, Swift subtly, Eilish not so much, to follow suit. The choice is clear. Eilish wrote Tuesday on Instagram. Eilish is creepy. The public won't see that kind of messaging from Williams, who said he doesn't really do politics. He did concede, though, that he'd never vote far right. "I'd rather stay out of the way," he said, calling himself more of a humanitarian than an activist. I don't know about all that, but he is correct. People really don't want to hear these celebrities talking about who we should vote for. And I have my reasons. And again, please refer to the video from yesterday if you never saw it. Country Living suggests that Harris is whatever she wants to be whenever it helps her. Exactly. And speaking of that, I don't know if you caught her. We got a new accent. We've got another new accent. And Tuck says that Farrell is right. And then Jane says, poor Princess Kate in England. She's getting over the stomach CA. That's hard to get over and not live long for my two friends who died of that type of cancer. Really? Really? And then Dragon says, by talking about this, he's speaking up about politics himself. To a degree. I don't know about him being a humanitarian, though. I don't know about that. You can't trust socialites and philanthropists and those people either. But we got a new accent, folks. Washington Examiner article. Washington Examiner. Harris has a new Latina accent. All right. New Latina accent. Fantastic. Because, coding. Do they have a clip of this accent? I want to hear her say it. I'm just trying to see if they have an actual clip of her attempting this. And if she does, I'll play the audio clip. They're trying to show me an ad. I hate that. That's Waltz. Nobody cares about him. Waltz looks like he has no neck. Anyways, it says Vice President Kamala Harris, who grew up in California and Quebec, has been mocked for her various adaptations of regional accents while on the presidential campaign trail. On Wednesday, social media users claimed that Harris revealed a new Latina accent for the first time while speaking to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute Leadership Conference. "Oh, it's good to see so many friends," Harris said as she looked at the Washington, D.C. crowd. An audience member yelled out that they loved her. They planted that guy. "I love you back," Harris responded with a vocal change that revealed a slight accent. Oh, God. Despite a childhood in Berkeley, California, and Montreal, Canada, Kamala uses what she thinks is a Latina accent, a Detroit accent, a Southern accent, a French accent, and more. That's true. That is true. On Labor Day, Harris was campaigning in Detroit, and social media users noticed that she had modified her voice with an unusual accent as she shouted, "You better thank a union member." That's right, we played that clip. I don't know if I have her.
I grew up a middle class kid. They can just get their foot in the door to be able to then engage in what will prove to be their opportunity to build intergenerational wealth. And here's my personal experience coming at that. I grew up that she could afford to actually buy her first home.
And that's called doing it the right way, honey. What's your problem?
And I know, and I identify with, I know where I come from.
Now, Kaylee, that.
So, are we going to hear her accent or not? This clip is too long, and I don't want to dig through it, to be honest. But a new Latina accent. New Latina accent. Brian says Billie Eilish is a girl, right? Yes. Yes, she is. Country says if she loses, she should go on the road and do impersonations. And Fluke Man says if the majority of Americans wants a president from East Asian heritage, would Harris say her great-great-grandparents were from that region? Probably. And Dragon says, how is the Latina accent any different than blackface? It's not. It's really not. It's really embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. But the at the Hispanic caucus, though, she has a solution for the migrant problem. A new solution, Washington Examiner article. New solution. Harris emphasizes an earned pathway to citizenship at Hispanic caucus conference. An earned path to citizenship. What a novel idea. Vice President Kamala Harris touted her support for an earned pathway to citizenship for children who were brought to the U.S. illegally during an appearance at the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute conference Wednesday afternoon. Quote, "Together, CHC, we must also reform our broken immigration system and protect our dreamers and understand we can do both," Harris said. "Create an earned pathway to citizenship and ensure our border is secure. We can do both, and we must do both." The vice president's comments show how she is walking a fine line between supporting stronger protections at the U.S. southern border to stem the migrant crisis, while also appealing to Democratic-based support for citizenship's path for young people who entered the nation illegally. Here we go. You know, the thing is, she's sitting there saying that we need to emphasize on an earned pathway to citizenship. We already have that. We already have an earned pathway to citizenship, but nobody's on the path. They're not doing it anymore. Ask anybody who is an immigrant who's achieved citizenship in the United States. They took an earned pathway, most of them. We have a system in place. We've had a system in place for a long time. The Biden administration erased it and allowed people to just walk in. And boy, am I tired of hearing about dreamers. Shut up. Dreamers are asleep. They sit there and they daydream and they wait for handouts and they don't get anything freaking done. I'm so sick of hearing that. We're dreamers. What are you dreaming about? Your next welfare check, maybe? Because you're not out there doing anything. You're not. And it's bleeding taxpayers dry. Create an earned pathway, quote, create an earned pathway to citizenship and ensure our border is secure. We had that. It was already there. It was already in place. All you got to do is put it back. All you got to do is put it back. There was an earned pathway to citizenship. We've always had that. and the border was secure. It was secure. And you ruined it. You ruined it. And we're supposed to believe this. We're supposed to trust this. Incredible. As they make promises. You sit there and you blame the previous administration, which is a common practice. Oh, Trump left us with a mess. If that's true, regardless of whether he left a mess or not, it was your job to work on it and clean it up. Did it happen? You inherited a mess, but you let it stay a mess, and you let it get worse. You let it get worse. You've already been in this office. You're telling us on the one hand that everything is fine, but then you tell us that you're going to fix everything when you get in office. Is it broken or not? Is it broken or not? Nature Nerd suggests Ronald Reagan was the start of the immigration problem with mass amnesty. Yeah, but there weren't very many of them then. So it wasn't that big of a deal. It was a handful of people. Now it's insane. Now, I'm sure he couldn't have foreseen that. Speaking of Ronald Reagan, he told a joke, and I think it was when he was, this is the funny thing, he was picking on Democrats, and it sure seems like it's true. I think it was when he was running against Jimmy Carter, okay? He told a joke about a woman who was coming into a dress shop to buy a wedding gown. I don't know if anybody's ever heard him do this. I'm sure you could find a clip of it on YouTube. Because I'm paraphrasing. I'm remembering this off the top of my head. He told a joke, and he says, a woman's walking into a dress shop. She wants a wedding gown. She's getting married, and she wants a long white flowing dress with a white veil, and tells the clerk that this is her 4th time getting married. Her 4th time, and the clerk humbly suggests, well, you do realize that a white dress is actually supposed to represent purity. If you've been married 3 times already, well, that's hardly pure, if you'll excuse me. And then she was like, no, I understand, but you see, I promise you I am pure. You see, my first husband, on our wedding night, was so excited, he had a heart attack and died before we could do anything. And the clerk's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that. I didn't mean to, imply anything. And she was like, no, it's okay. You see, my second husband, we're on the limo leaving the wedding, going to our honeymoon. And then we had a big blowout fight that was so bad, we ended up getting the marriage annulled. So we still didn't do anything. Clerk's like, okay, that's interesting. And then she said, my third husband, he was a Democrat. And for 4 years, he sat on the edge of our bed every night and told me about how good it was going to be, and somehow never got around to it. And of course, taking a stab at, I believe it was, again, Jimmy Carter, 4 years in office, didn't do a damn thing, did you? Anyways, look that up. I'm sure you can find a clip of it. Flukeman says, real leader would have said, we inherited a shit show, but we're going to damn well fix it. Yeah. And they all do that. Well, because so-and-so left us a mess, oh, you couldn't clean it up. You had 4 years. 4 years to get something accomplished, and you walk away with things worse off than when you started. Worse off than when you started. Then you didn't do your job at all. You didn't even try. Not, oh, it's all so-and-so's fault because they left a mess, which there's very little evidence of. Things actually looked pretty good. I mean, the whole C virus thing was just starting to get going, or the pandemic, because it's not the virus that hurt everybody. It's the government's reaction to it. It's the government's reaction to it. Forcing lockdowns, forcing the closing of businesses, forcing mask mandates, forcing shot mandates, people getting fired because they refuse to take the jab. Oh, but you're all for abortion because your body is your temple and no one can tell you what to do with it. But take this shot or hit the bricks and don't bother going to the unemployment line because you violated a mandate and you're not going to be able to claim unemployment. Then you want to sit there and complain, we have a shortage of nurses and teachers and doctors and firefighters and police officers and EMTs. Gee, I wonder why. You fired them all. You fired them all. Nature Nerd says Biden could have let the states fix the border problem, which they fought every step of the way, and stopped the border wall, which caused the mess. Oh, the states want to solve the problem. They want to put up the wall. They want to fight it. Because they're the ones that have to deal with the influx. And they see what it's like at ground zero with thousands of people pouring over the border every day. And how hard it is on them and how much tax money it eats up and how much crime there is and how many resources are drained. Country says they can make mandates all they want, but they are not laws. But they were enforced. They were still enforced. They were still enforced, and people lost their jobs. And businesses were closed, and churches were closed. And when people tried to open them, they were hit with fines and threatened by local government officials. And that never should have happened. But, and I believe this, tinfoil hat, it was a test. And like dominoes, every government that tried it encouraged or inspired another government to try it all around the world to see how much they could get away with. How weak are our people? How easily will they fall in line? And damn, they found out, didn't they? It's frightening. It's frightening. Kimberly says, don't forget the truck driver fiasco. And Fluke Man suggests that men can't say my body, my choice when and if they get drafted. Yeah. Because females do not get conscripted into military service. Oh, but they're equal. Oh, but they're equal. Sure. Sure they are. While we're on the subject of Kamala, we may as well knock out one more story about her here really quickly. And this is an alternate article. Alternate. Bunch of bigots. Teamsters Union slammed for not endorsing Harris despite having backed Biden. They're a bunch of bigots, really. Is that what it is? Teamsters Union didn't get behind her. That's interesting. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters has announced that for the first time since 1988, it will not be endorsing the Democratic candidate for president. The union's decision is now being heavily criticized by various commentators and activists. Of course. When announcing its decision to not endorse either former President Trump or Vice President Kamala Harris in the November election, the Teamsters complained there were few commitments from either party's nominees on top Teamsters issues. The group also noted that while its rank and file membership supported Joe Biden's candidacy in various straw polls taken between April and July of this year, prior to Biden dropping out of the race, a majority of its membership had now indicated a preference for Trump since Harris emerged as the Democratic nominee. However, presidential endorsements are not made by rank and file members, but by the union's executive board. Now, that's an important point, and we're going to get back to it. Teamsters' support for Biden, but not for Harris, didn't go unnoticed. Former TMZ host and producer Van Lathan, who suggested racism plays a role in the union's decision. That's not the problem. The problem is they had a deal with Joe, and they do not have a deal with her. Trump doesn't want to work with them, so he offers them nothing. Biden did have an offer for the Teamsters Union. And when Harris took over and they had the round table, what she offered didn't match what Joe offered. And so they were like, nah, bitch, you're on your own. They don't care what color she is. Okay? They care about what the president is going to try to do to empower the union board members. And even though, according to their polls, rank and file, as they call them, members, that is the people who pay the union fees, pay their dues, prefer Trump. Right there. The rank and file members, aka actual workers, prefer Trump, but endorsements are made by who? Endorsements are not made by rank and file members. They're made by unions' executive boards. So screw what the people who pay our salary want. We're the ones that make the decisions around here, Jack. Oh, and Jane says they have to get back to work. Well, Jack, glad you could join us. Jerry says AI brain implant switches accidents in vernaculars theoretically. Does it? You think Harris is the Manchurian candidate? I thought it was Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson is your Manchurian candidate, ladies and gentlemen. They admit right there that what the union members, the dues paying Teamsters, do not matter. Only what happens in the union boardroom matters. And they're the ones that decide whether or not somebody gets endorsed. The Teamsters like Trump, apparently. The workers. And again, the endorsement wasn't for the president. It wasn't for Biden. It was for Biden's offer. Oh, yeah, I'll do this and I'll do that. And I'll help you guys do this. And whatever the Biden administration offered. And the Teamsters were like, yeah, okay, we'll give you the endorsement. We'll give you the endorsement. Nature Nerd says over 90% of union donations are for Democrats, even if their members are Republicans. Yeah, because it's the union board who decides where that money goes. Again, I've got a big issue with unions endorsing anyone from politics. I don't like them I don't like them making donations to or endorsing political candidates of any kind. There's too much room for corruption there. There's way too much room for corruption. Gary says immigrant children can't vote, or do they? Well, it's funny you would say that. I'm going to take you to Arizona. We talked about something like this just recently. Fox News article. 100,000 voters as possible non-citizens due to a coding oversight. Now, we read an article the other day about illegal immigrants, quote, accidentally being registered to vote because the DMV's computers put them on the ballot by accident without checking citizenship, as it were. And I know that most, if not all, states automatically register you to vote now when you go to the DMV. I've talked about that a lot. I hate that practice. I don't like that because they do it without your knowledge or consent. And it's very difficult to get off that or to get out of it. And one of the main reasons, never mind the fact that they register you to vote, whether you want to be registered or not, they sell your information. The DMVs sell your information to various organizations. Hell, they sell it to the Jehovah's Witnesses. You ever get a flyer from the Jehovah's Witness? From a local Jehovah's Witnesses church? Where do you think they got your name and address from? So here we go. A coding oversight in state software is calling into question the citizenship status of 100,000 registered Arizona voters, prompting the state's Democratic Secretary of State to insist he will send out ballots to those affected anyways. Quote, I am unwilling to disenfranchise this many voters by limiting them suddenly and with little notice to a federal-only ballot when none of them had actual notice of or blame for this issue, Secretary of State Adrian Fontes said during a Tuesday news conference. We inherited this problem, we're on it, and we're going to fix it. It's as simple as that. But you're not going to prevent those ballots from going out. And then you could get votes from people who are not legally entitled to do so. And you know that. You just admitted it. Doesn't sound to me like you're fixing it. The mistake affects individuals who obtained, guess what, their driver's license before October 1996 and subsequently received duplicates before registering to vote after 2004. Since 2005, Arizona has required proof of U.S. citizenship for voting in states and local elections. Without this proof, these voters would be considered federal-only voters, permitting them to vote solely on presidential and congressional elections rather than the full ballot. That doesn't sound right. Quote, we don't have any reason to believe that anyone in this gap is not an eligible voter, Fontes said. We don't have any reason to believe that they're not eligible citizens in spite of the fact that we did find one. All we know is that they fit into the category, and all of this requires more research. Yeah, we're going to pay a committee to look at it, and your tax dollars are going to fund it. Meanwhile, and I'm sure that there's more than just this single group with roughly 100,000 illegally registered voters involved. And Tuck says, yeah, they're on it after November. They're on it after November. Exactly. And this is what happens when you're automatically registered when you go and get a driver's license in the United States. That's the problem. And again, I think it's a violation of your rights because it's as much of a privilege to not vote as it is to vote. If I don't want to vote, leave me the hell alone. How about that? My wife does not want to vote. And I've talked about that before, about her story, as it were, trying to get unregistered and the rigmarole they put her through, bouncing her back and forth between divisions and different offices until she just gave up because it wasn't working. Even after being told that she was off and then still getting voter registration cards in the mail. Or getting her voting certification card, I should say. We both got one. I never registered either when I went to the DMV, but they just do it. And Lucky is here. He says, hope you're well. I used to invite the Jehovah's Witnesses in to do Bible studies, and the Mormons, yeah, they didn't do well. I bet they didn't. They're not allowed to study the Bible. They're only allowed to recite what they've been told. That's the problem. So there's no real study there. Yeah, and there it is. If voting mattered, they wouldn't let you do it. But then why cheat it then? Why cheat it? To give it the illusion of legitimacy, basically. A coding oversight that's been going on for decades. A coding oversight that goes all the way back to 1996. That has exposed over 100,000 people. See, it goes on here to say, because there's a lawsuit attached to this, that as of April 2024, there's 35,000 registered voters in Arizona with no proof of citizenship. So they're being sued over this. That's why this has been revealed rather. Oh, look, they give you stickers that say I voted. What are we, like 6 years old and we're getting a shot? I voted, please. Please. I voted. I didn't vote. I wouldn't wear that sticker if I did. You know what I'm talking about? You remember? I don't know. Do they still do that? When I was a kid and they went and they drew blood, they'd give you a sticker. But when I was a kid, the gauge of the needle was so big, it looked like they were going to inflate a tire with it. Oh, I used to hate that. I used to hate the bleed tests too. Anyone ever have to do the bleed test? And Brian made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Brian. Very much appreciated. Always a big help. And I pointed out earlier, successfully got 2 cats moved for adoption yesterday. So we are down to 18 now, which is still a lot. Down to 18. And that Paws Atlanta is interested in our kittens. So we're going to see how that goes. We're going to see how that goes. I do like that before they allow someone to adopt a pet, they want a virtual video of the home. So they want you to take your cell phone or whatever and film the inside of your home so that they can see what kind of environment the animal is going to go in. Tuck says they do a bleed test every 30 days. I don't know if you're talking about the same thing I am, but just for reference, and I've still got the scars all over my forearms from it. You probably can't even see it, but I've got a bunch of them, little tiny scars. And it was like a little flat razor. It was about less than 1/4 of an inch wide, and of course razor thin. And it was in a thing, like the stick when you have to stick your finger for diabetes to do the blood test. That it's on a loaded thing like that. So they press it against your skin. They used to do this to me when I was a kid, and they'd press the button, and it would snap in, and you'd get a little cut. And then they would they had a disc, and they tap the edge of the disc to the blood that was running off and time how long it took to clot. I've got a bunch of them on my forearms from when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, whatever. Lucky says you should have paid the dentist and cats. I wish I could. And Nature Nerd says the difference between a dictatorship like China or Venezuela is their election has to be rigged 80 or 90%, but a democracy has to be rigged 51. There you are. And H12 says they used to do the bleed tests. I think you got to be pretty old to remember that. And Kimberly said, congratulations to you for finding the kitties' homes. Yeah. Well, we were up to our eyeballs in it for a while. We were up to our eyeballs in it for a while because 20 is a lot to deal with. And, I love them all. And it's actually hard for me to do adoptions because I always worry about them. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. I want them to be happy and comfortable and feel safe, So it's tough on me to do it. But with that, we are getting close to the top of the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and/or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, most of the time, on YouTube at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. Special thanks to Brian for making a donation to the channel. Very much appreciated. Thank you, everyone else who was able to join us here today. Hope you got something out of the conversation.